Alright guys, haven't done a video in quite a while, probably about a month now I think, and the reason being is I've been getting more and more into iRacing, specifically ovals. Now everyone knows me as a circuit racer, from Automobilista 2, Or Factor to Assetto Corsa Competizione, Assetto Corsa, and about a month ago, about 6 weeks or maybe 8 weeks after LMU came out, just thought I wanted something different. Like, LMU was really good, but you know, for me, I got to the gold safety standard thing, so that opened up like races that you know, were a little bit different, a little bit longer, not the typical bronze that was, you know, a bit of a crash fest at the start, unfortunately. So I was looking for a platform that kind of would, even in the bronze, or well, rookies as it is in iRacing, even in the rookie stages, would be clean racing, right? So then I jumped between a bit of Formula racing and the Formula 4. I jumped into a bit of sports car racing and the MX-5 and stuff like that. But then I started to have a look through the different oval disciplines. You know, watch a bit of oval racing on TV. And I thought the whole idea of you know, pack racing and stuff like that was something that really appealed to me. But coming from circuit racing, I thought, you know, it's just driving around in a circle. You know, how difficult can it be? It's easy. There's no challenge to it. All of the typical kind of prejudice that, you know, a circuit racer would have, and particularly a European circuit racer at that. But from dabbling in the ovals a couple of years ago, I do recall that there was a little bit more finesse involved, but I never really got into it, never appreciated it. So when the iRacing sub renewed, I did try a bit of circuit racing and iRacing. Truth be told, I think I prefer LMU from a circuit racing perspective. But then I thought, well, I'll get into oval racing, you know, NASCAR trucks, these late model stock cars here at Martinsville that we're looking at now. And I thought, well, what's oval racing all about? It's a different discipline, obviously, compared to what I'm used to, and it's kind of grasped me in a little bit. It's surprised me in the challenge that it actually, I suppose, poses to people, right? So for me, you know, the big thing was, you know, it's a totally different learning curve. It's a new discipline. When you go from one sim to the other, let's say road racing, whether it's a, you know, a Formula car, a GT car, the rules of a corner are pretty similar. All right, maybe the exception of a high downforce car, but you brake, you try to apex early, get a good line out, you make up your time on the straightaway if you get a good exit, all the usual stuff, right? Where in oval racing, you find that as the race goes on, different lines, different lanes, essentially kind of go onto the track, and you know, so at the start of the race, the low line might be best. As the race goes on, the high line might be best, and as the track gets rubbered in and heats up, certain lines or certain lanes around the banking can either gain grip or lose grip. And you find with oval racing as well, a lot of it is down to tyre management as well, particularly on the longer runs. Some of these races can go from anywhere from 25 laps up to, you know, this race here was 75 laps. So, you know, and some of them then have fuel refills halfway through or whatever, if it's needed. And then you have the full course yellows, or the caution can come out as well with the safety car, and that bunches the field up as well. So again, the racing is kind of, you know, almost reset in a way, and it makes for a very exciting race. And particularly if you've been a bit unlucky or you've lost a few positions at the start, you can be back in the race pretty quickly. If you're the leader, however, though, it's a bit of a pain. So what else? I mean, the thrill of racing in a pack can't be overstated. I mean, you know, particularly on the Super-Speedways. Now, this is a short track oval, so it's you don't get a lot of pack racing, but when you're in the trucks or even the NASCAR stocks at the likes of Texas Speedway or Talladega or Daytona or one of the super speedways, it's not uncommon like to have maybe 2 or 3 lanes of cars literally all drafting each other. And being in the draft is actually quite important, because on some tracks, if you're out of the draft, it can cost you maybe 3 seconds a lap. So it really teaches you to drive in very close proximity in packs, and be very careful around other drivers. And I think that's a skill that
you pissed me off because
and the replay picking up the audio from the race.
I don't want to race.
Let me just kill that. We don't want to hear what went on. But the point being is that when racing like this, racing in stock cars, ovals, will teach you how to race in packs, and then I think that will make you race better in circuit racing, road racing. I thought I was okay racing beside people until I jumped into ovals. Like, it was definitely a big eye opener for me. Another thing that kind of stood out to me as well was the margin for error in oval racing is so low. Like, if you were doing a perfect qualifying lap at, let's say, Spa or Monza or whatever, you could potentially like make a tiny error on the entry, or I'm not saying a massive error, but like a tiny error on the entry, and what could happen is that could you could potentially make that up over the course of the next the next couple of corners. You could maybe pull it back, your quali lap might be still alive, basically, right? In oval racing, certainly on iRacing, the margin for error is like non-existent. It's non-existent. It really is. Like, it's like you're talking less than hundredths of a second. Like, qualifying is usually separated by thousandths. Now, I know the track is shorter, but the actual precision, I guess, that's needed on the steering wheel to maintain like a line without scrubbing off too much speed in qualifying, and then being able to stick with people in the draft as the race goes on. I mean, it's a skill that can't really be overstated, to be honest with you. It's like in oval racing, it's key. The physical demands, I mean, you're constantly, like, one thing that stood out to me was constantly turning the wheel to the left, and my right arm would get a bit achy after a while, because remember, we're doing like 50 to 95 laps. So one thing I had to do was turn down the force feedback. I'm using a Formula wheel, right? But what I want to do, I have like a 320 round wheel on order from Fanatec. So once I get the delivery backlog out of the way, hopefully that will come, and we'll be a happy camper then. What I liked about like NASCAR was the whole pack mentality, and here you can actually see this is a full course yellow has actually come out. So there's the stricken car there on screen, as you can see, and yeah, there's me, the leader. I'm in the Pennzoil car number 2. But yeah, what I really liked about it was the different like discipline that the oval racing is. Like, I came in with a prejudice, thinking like it's simple, turn left, keep your foot planted, and all of that. And some tracks, yes, that's true. Like, you keep your foot planted, but the actual race then begins to grow legs, because you need the draft, and if you fall out of the draft, it's a bad time for your race. Like, it can really cause issues, but like I say, the precision that's needed to drive ovals in a proper way, competitively at least, is quite, it definitely was an eye-opener. The margin for error is so small, not just in lap time but also control. Like, some of the cars are a little bit loose. If you overdrive the car, or tyres not fully up to temperature, it could take maybe 3 laps, 4 laps maybe, to start getting a bit of grip. Some of the cars can be quite squirrely, like, up until then. and you have that to deal with, and you have to remember like that on a lot of these oval tracks, like the cars are doing like between 160 to 190 plus almost 200 miles an hour, or 250k to 300k. Like I was in the draft in one of the next gen NASCARs there a few days ago, and like I looked down and we're doing 312 kilometers an hour in a pack of 30 cars separated by literally bumper widths. It's absolutely crazy, like, but it's a lot of fun. But I will say with oval racing, the downside, if you want to call it that, is that if you're in a pack and somebody makes a mistake, they mess up, it's likely to take out a few innocent victims with them. Positive is, because of the way oval racing operates, when the caution goes out, it'll be out for maybe, I don't know, 3 to 5 laps usually. You can come in, get some repairs, and get back out without losing too much time. And usually in NASCAR races, there's more than one caution will come out, particularly in the longer ones on the Super-Speedways, because everyone's drafting so close that invariably you're going to have somebody making a bit of contact trying to bump draft. The bump drafting is okay, but as people are jockeying for position and the bump drafting is going on, sometimes a person can get hooked at the rear accidentally, and that can cause a problem, and will bring out a caution. Nobody's fault really, it's just something to be aware of. Now what that means is that if you're let's say a less skilled driver, that you could go into one of these like super speedway races and actually have a chance. You could opt to try and keep clean, and a couple of wrecks will happen through the race most likely, and you can progress through the field. But as I said, it's a totally different skill set. It's like what I find with track racing is like it's you against the track, it's you against the corner, and if you brake correctly and put your car in a defensive position correctly, it makes it almost impossible for the guy behind you to pass in most cases, right? But in oval racing, the draft is worth quite a bit, and not only are you worried about the guy behind, but usually there'll be people in a pack that will be also trying to come along your outside or maybe the inside, depending, and you're not really defending just from one car, you're defending from a pack, as the pack makes a move. But this is what I'm learning initially, at least, right? I'm not claiming to be an oval expert or anything. I'm still learning. I watch NASCAR, but I don't know all of the tips and tricks of how ovals work, or I'm picking up some of the lingo. I'm having a lot of fun. It's like I'm discovering sim racing again, to be honest with you. I do find some of my circuit techniques come in handy, particularly on these type of short oval tracks. Like the super speedways are straightforward, anyone can kind of pin the throttle. Racing in the pack is a different story, of course, but I find with this, where you have a short oval with an entry and an exit, it's quite my road background is helpful, because I'm able to be much more comfortable coming into the curve, into the banking on the brake, and trail off almost perfectly. At least that's how it feels. It's much less of an issue. The good thing about the short ovals is that you've got one nice long corner every 10 seconds, which as a road racer, I do like corners, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. What I might do over the next week, I might do a bit more iRacing and oval content. As I said, it's just something that I always had a bit of an interest in. I'd look at oval racing, I'd watch it on TV, never really understood it. Always liked it, always thought the cars looked kind of cool, always thought the concept of a NASCAR was quite cool, like a level playing field stock car, and the high speeds on a closed circuit always appealed to me, from an interest point of view. But never actually thought I'd go and race it, because I always thought, like I said earlier, oh, it's turning left, it's boring, it's going to be crap. But I have to say, like, I've been pleasantly converted. One other thing I'll say, if you're the type of person that's a bit short on time, you know, as life kicks in, you have a career, you might have a family, you might have kids, picking up the track is much quicker in oval racing, right? Because you've got 2 or 3 turns mainly per circle, right? Like, if you're learning a new road track, you've got to learn the braking points, the turning points, the throttle points. Once you learn that, then you have to figure out the trailing points on the brake. You have to figure out, okay, what corners can I short shift, what corners do I, you know, all of this. With oval, you can be up and running a lot quicker. But to be fast, I still think you need to be ultra precise regardless. But it just means that if you're short on time due to life being in the way, you know, like job, kids, whatever, oval racing is much more accessible to you know, jump in a car and be relatively on pace and actually have fun without worrying, like, oh shit, is it a left corner or a right corner coming up, where should I brake or whatever. You don't have that in oval racing, right? It's, well, much less anyway, but that doesn't mean it's less challenging, because like I say, to be fast you still have to, you know, be very, very smooth, very, very precise. When you're dragging the brake through the corner, you need to be almost perfection to be fast and keep the car on track and online. And when you go offline, or if you go too deep into a corner, or you don't brake or trail at the right point or whatever, it's very punishing. You end up overheating the tyres, and once you overheat the tyres, it's just a downward slope from there on. Like, you start losing grip, you lose a lot of lap time, and then you start risking going into the wall. So although the oval tracks themselves are easier to pick up, it doesn't make it any less of a challenge. Really doesn't make it any less of a challenge. Let's jump forward actually. So jump forward to the last couple of laps. Let's say the last, I don't know, last 8 laps maybe. And let's jump on to my car if we can. There's me there. So yeah, I was being caught by the number 6 here, and this was setting up to be a spicy finish. So what happened is I made a tiny bit of contact with the wall. You can see it just, you might see on one of the camera shots, a tiny bit of damage on the rear right. And this basically allowed the 6 to gain a little bit. Whether I had a tiny bit of wheel damage or something, I don't know. But it was enough to, you know, at least mentally screw with me to the point where I thought, right, I have to keep this guy behind. And you can see here that, you know, he's getting that bit closer and getting into the draft, and he's able to go much deeper, and you can see him starting to V onto the, you know, take a different line essentially, Ving into the corner. And this is what I was saying a little bit earlier on in terms of, you know, the regular line we were no longer using. I was going a bit wide, he was going in a bit of a V or diamond shape. And this is one of the things with the longer run ovals that, you know, I started this with taking a very tight inside line. That started to rubber up and overheat a little bit, and then I kind of had to move off the low line a little to try and look for grip elsewhere. Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where, like, when you're in an oval track, you can feel the track kind of dynamically change much more obviously compared to a road course. You know, when, you know, obviously the exception is a drying course when you have like a road track with rain and it's drying. Okay, that's different. But for a dry course to evolve, I guess, in the same way, was quite interesting. Yeah, and then what we'll do is we'll just have a look. We'll bring it to the end of the race. So I think that was, let's bring it up to lap 70 or so, 74. So 75 lap race, took 30 minutes. So a nice length for a race. This was a nice track, and the car itself, this particular car is actually quite fun to drive. The only downside with iRacing, look, we all know that you know, buying the content on top of your paid subscription is a bit, you know, not a fan of it. I really am not, but look, it is what it is. You know, they've got the online kind of ranking system, and they've got, you know, anywhere from 15 to 20,000 players online at any one time. So, you know, they've got the whole online thing kind of working pretty well, don't they? Yeah, that was the end of the race, guys. So that concludes my this was actually a C license class win for me. It was the first one, the first time I'd won a C license class event, and I'm working up towards the B license. Yeah, a lot of fun, and if you get the chance to have a look at some oval races, I'd recommend that look. I think you'll be surprised at just how fun they can actually be. You know, particularly the Super-Speedways. You know, there's some free content in iRacing that'll get you going. Like, you have the street stocks, and you've got like the old little Ford, I think they're Fords, the 1930s, 40s looking little cars. They're fun, but I don't really like them as much as these cars, to be honest. Like, I prefer the proper stock car, you know. Personally, I think they feel better to drive. Like, when I initially joined the oval scene in rookies, and I was driving those like old school little cars, I didn't really like them too much. I still drive them. I even drive them to this day, like, yeah, in the rookies. Like, I still go back and do some rookie races from time to time, for sure. But yeah, I'm not really a fan of them, to be honest. That did initially put me off ovals, I have to be honest, but gave it a bit of a proper shot this time. Got into the proper stock cars, the trucks, the next gen NASCAR, and even the old gen NASCAR as well. And yeah, they're all fantastic. But yeah, we'll leave this one here, guys. Let me know what you think. You know, if you've done oval racing before, it's something that you've considered. And then, yeah, anything in iRacing that you think I should have a look at, particularly in the oval scene, let me know. I probably will look at some dirt ovals as well, just to change it up, you know. Like, I mean, track racing is done. I've done a lot of it. I enjoy it. I still will do it, but at the moment I'm just yeah, I'm just learning racing again. You know, it's the same but quite different ovals, you know, and it's certainly not as simple as it looks from the outside. I can say that confidently. Yeah, guys, leave it there. Thanks for watching, and yeah, until the next one. Cheers.